And like that, Rakugo has come to a close. The end. This is one of those series I want to have to hold in my, like, Hall of Fame of anime. Like, Such a mature story, such great characters, and such a wonderful conclusion to such a fantastic journey. This is a series I will not forget at all. I know this is not going to be a series for everyone because of the style of it, to not really having action or whatever because of the way it is and what genre it is and all of that, but I hope one day more find out about this series, because this is a highly underrated series, one of the best series I have watched in recent years, and such great storytelling. It really does, especially to the very end, the final part of this episode, when you just have Yotaro just walking off and all that, and the credits start playing, you hear the Rakugo of the previous masters. It's just an emotional moment. You know it's coming to an end, but at the same time, it's a new direction for Rakugo, a new journey, and it's so much symbolic meaning throughout this episode and what it means throughout the entirety of the series. Like, just all that meaning throughout the first season, how it carries over to this finale of Season 2. So, I'm just going to be point blank with you. I am satisfied. And it's rare I am left with an anime series where I feel satisfied. Like, where I feel like I didn't get everything I wanted answered, or I don't feel like that was a good, conclusion for such a great ride. Because as I've said so many times in so many other series I've reviewed, an ending can make or break a series for me. You can have a great journey, but sometimes the way the ending is done, it can really shit on everything that was about the series. And just to see how this series added that beautiful bow on top of the entire journey, I'm like, yes, that is what I wanted when I started this series and continued to watch the series. Just to know that I can look back at this series now, look at that conclusion, look at the beginning, look at the middle and all that, and just think, this series had such good storytelling and was able to conclude in a way where I'm satisfied. That truly makes me happy, and it makes me happy that I started the series in the first place. I remember I wasn't going to watch this series. I remember that. I remember I was actually going to overlook this series, and then the only reason why I got back to watching it was because of you, Chibi. It's like, I was going to not start it in first season. I remember, I was like, I was on the fence with it, but then you guys like, Chibi, you stop that shit, you need to check it out. It's going to be a good series, and so I decided to check it out, and yeah. So, I'm glad once again I have you, Chibi. It's just to let me know to stop doing that shit. You need to check it out and all that. And I did. And this was not a mistake. This was not a mistake to watch. It was one of those series where I'm super glad to have you, Chibi. It's just to let me know when I'm missing such a gem when it comes to anime. So, the finale. The conclusion. Well, the conclusion of the series kind of showcases everything that's been building up throughout the first 2 seasons of this series. When it comes to passing the torch, to Rakugo needing to change, to the building even needing to change, the people needing to change, people aging, just everything that's been the main theme of the series passed on, and the cycle continues. You see it throughout this episode, the next generation. Even though we've been following, Bon throughout the entirety of Season 1 and Season 2, with a little bit of Yakumo and Konatsu and all that, mainly it's been Bon's story, kind of passing the torch over to Yotaro. That's kind of what the whole point of it was. But this episode showcases Yotaro in a very similar position to how Bon was. He is now the next master. He is the next Yakumo, and he is the one to carry Rakugo on his shoulders while teaching the next generation. And so, we kind of already know the story that, Yotaro is going to be doing. It might be different. There's going to be little differences here and there because of what he's doing. But overall, thanks to what we've seen from Bon, we know now that Yotaro is ready. He has been ready to be the next guiding light for everyone else when it comes to the Rakugo world. Rakugo world is in a very good place at the end of this series. There's just so many that have joined, Rakugo and wanted to learn it or, play it and just do performances. It shows you how much it's matured and changed thanks to Yotaro actually wanting to help it out and keep it alive. And I really love the scene. It's probably my favorite scene of the episode when Yotaro's giving his speech. He's talking about Rakugo. He's like, the building's finally been remade. It looks pretty much identical to what it was. And on top of that, we have opened our gates to Easterners and Westerners when it comes to doing Rakugo. And we've also opened the gates for all genders, men and women alike. And I'm like, yo, just seeing that, and then saying like he's accepted new stories as well, it's a bright future for Rakugo. So many things have changed, and many can be a part of Rakugo now, perform. And I mean, a long time ago, it wasn't possible for someone like Konatsu to be able to, perform Rakugo. And it wasn't really possible for Westerners and Easterners to do it together as well. So when you see stuff like this, it just shows you how much Rakugo has changed, and it does need to change with the times. It's one of the big themes of this series, and you can see how much influence that Bon had in the change in Rakugo's world. I mean, even though Bon wanted to die with Rakugo, he didn't want it to carry on without him, he still kind of allowed Rakugo to change. When he's like, do whatever you want, when he was talking to Yotaro, it was pretty much him saying, do whatever you want with Rakugo. When I'm dead, there's nothing I can do to stop you. And it's kind of beautiful, really it is. And just such a great way to conclude all of those themes that have built up throughout the first 2 seasons. I'm satisfied with that. So, talking about other scenes, let's talk about Matsuda. So, Matsuda is alive. That man is 95 years old. Like, holy shit, that man, oh my god, like, I figured he was dead because of, Bon, just the last episode, but the man's alive. And then what gets me is this man, 16 years after the death of Bon, like, bruh, like, holy shit, Matsuda, like, this man, like, he continues on living, like, this man goes on for so many years after Bon's death. I'm like, usually, I would expect this man to have died maybe 3 years or so after Bon, but the man, he continued living. I'm like, damn, this man he's got some good vitality to be able to survive this long and not die of old age. Like, that's pretty crazy. But also, I like the representation of Matsuda and kind of what he was. He was someone that got to see the change in the generations. He got to see the 7th generation, the 8th generation, and the 9th generation. He got to see all of them. He got to see the change. He got to see the death of everyone that was around him. He got to see, Sukeroku. He got to see Bon's death. He got to see his, master, the original 7th generation. And now he's seeing Yotaro and how he's changing. And in some ways it's sad, but at the same time, you can see that Matsuda has lived a very fulfilled life. He has got to see so many things, so many great things, and he doesn't regret anything in his life, which that's a perfect representation of what this episode was about, showing that no one has regrets anymore. No one regrets anything about the past. They're continuing to move forward, and that is such a very sweet scene to show that even if they hold secrets from each other, they have things that they want to take to the grave with them, they don't regret these decisions, and which shows how much they matured and developed, just like how Bon matured and developed throughout his story of Rakugo Season 1 and Season 2. So great way for Matsu to kind of let us know that and how he feels about his entire journey with his life. Now, a couple other things I want to talk about before I conclude this. Konatsu. So apparently from what is implied. Now, it is not point-blank stated. So it's left up to the, viewers and the reader's interpretation of the scene. Because once again, it was not stated. It was implied, but not stated, that there is a possibility that Konatsu, how she got Shin in the first place, how he was even conceived, was thanks to Yakumo. Now, in a lot of ways, that sounds very fucked up. Like, the way that sounds. It does. It sounds like a very fucked up relationship with Bon and, Konatsu, but as I said, the characters have moved on with their life and they don't have any regrets anymore. They no longer have regrets, and she doesn't want to pour water on the relationship of, actual Shin and Yotaro and, how they're father and son, but the way it's implied, it seemed like Konatsu slept with Bon, and that's how Shin came about in the first place, and it would explain why he's so similar to Bon, why he seems very similar, like in terms of the way he looks, the way he presents himself, the way, he carries on, Bon's Rakugo, but also how he carries, Bon's name with him. He is now the new Bon. There's just a lot of things here that imply that Shin is the biological son of Bon, Yakumo, the 8th generation Yakumo. So, Who knows? We'll never know the answer, obviously, but that's something that we don't really need to know. It was good enough that they implied it and let us know who it could possibly be. It could either be the boss, or it could be, 8th generation Yakumo. But regardless, though, a very sweet conclusion, and I'm just glad to see all of our characters happy. I'm glad to see just everybody smiling and all that. It was a great way to conclude such a fantastic series. So, with that, I guess these are my final words of my reviews. It's been a fun journey. Thank you. Thank you, everyone that has tuned in to watch, my Rakugo videos. I know that not many really care about Rakugo in general when it comes to, me doing these videos. I will say right now that I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I continued putting videos up on it. And thank you, everyone that, stuck with me on this journey for, Rakugo. I love you all. Please be safe. Chibi out.